Good day. Some of you may know me already, some of you may not. My name's Shane. I'm a lifelong Alaska resident up here. Been here almost 50 years now. Born and raised. This is my home. What I wanted to bring to you today was some information that I've learned as I retired from the military and started my own business, firearms business, FFL. Wanted to share kind of how I got started, what drove me, and some of the lessons that I've learned throughout this. So I retired with a friend of mine. He had a FFL up here. I used to be a customer of his, and as he retired and moved out of state, I lost my FFL that I dealt with very regularly. So I decided to touch base with him and say, hey, what do you think about helping me get started? Of course, he was happy to and carried on. He has a little shop down out of state in Texas. I have Alaska now, and just really enjoyed this and had a lot of fun going on through it. So a couple of things that first came up was to start a sole proprietorship or a LLC. Well, let's get into a little bit of what the differences are here. As a sole proprietorship, you and the business are one. Generally, it's a lot lower cost. All the inventory, everything that's owned by the business belongs directly to you as the FFL or the business owner, regardless of if it's an FFL or not. Versus a LLC separates your personal and your business assets. This can be definitely beneficial for liability purposes if something comes up or anything else like that. So then it's a little bit more paperwork, more fees, a little bit more on insurance and stuff, but you do have more safety net as you are separated from your business versus the business is mine. My property, the business, everything falling in one on a sole proprietorship. The second big thing that kind of came in there was, what kind of FFL do you want? So I have just a standard sales and gunsmithing license. This is kind of the most common, this is the most common FFL that you're going to run into. It's just somebody that does sales, can do gunsmithing. The other aspect, the other common one that you'll run into for retailers would be a manufacturing license, a Class 7. The Class 7 is going to give you a lot more room for flexibility and kind of playing with some of the stuff that you're going to come in here. So one example, if a customer comes in, buys all the AR parts to me, turns them back into me to assemble the firearm, that would be a gunsmithing thing. Now, if I purchase the parts, put it together, and then tried to sell it, that is a manufacturing thing. So it's a line that you have to learn. You have to make sure that you don't overcross, otherwise you're getting out of what's allowed by your FFL. Definitely, that could be a bad news right quick. So I currently have a sales and gunsmithing, and I intend to go ahead and try to get it changed over to a manufacturing license. I think it'll be a little bit more fun for me. There's some more stuff that I enjoy doing, because putting together firearms is one thing that I really have enjoyed more than most of the things that I do. I'm a collector. I like old historic rifles. So my big thing that I'd like to do in the long-term goal is actually historic restoration and stuff. The stuff on the wall behind me, that's an airsoft rifle down on the bottom, so that don't really matter. That is a muzzle loader that I put together in the SDI classes that I took. Retired, never used my GI Bill. Thought it'd be fun, and it was a fun class. It is definitely, it's not so much a gunsmithing class as it's a degree. It's an associate's degree if you take the associate's program. So you are doing schoolwork. It is an accredited college. So you got to remember that if that's something that you choose to do. Then on the very top rack, the next thing up would be a fishing rods, and then the very top rack, that's actually a barrel from a old 1878 Ithaca that I'm working on putting back together for a friend, because I've had it for a long time and it just is a lot of fun to do. So some of the things that I've really learned as I tried to get this business started. You don't know what people want, no matter what you think. We all have a different view, something different we like, something different we're going to want to do with a firearm. I'm right outside of a military base. You'd think that AR, stuff like that would be fairly big. I don't tend to move much for the AR side. More is handguns and even some personal protection side of the house. Uh, so what you like to do, what interests you, is only going to take you so far in the world of firearms and starting a business like this. And that's going to be something that you have to apply to any business. Game stores, RC stores, hobby and crafts, computer stores, anything like that that you're going to get into, you're going to kind of run into that thing of your interests. You really need to look at the fact that other people just don't care on certain things like that. And remember that to help you to judge your inventory and your starting points on this. One great example, holsters. Inside the waistband, outside the waistband. I personally have never carried inside the waistband, so I find those very uncomfortable, where a large amount of people really prefer that kind of carry. Well, then you got your Kydex versus leather versus padding. All these things are something that you have to take into account when you're trying to order for the customer and what the customer may want. Another big aspect here that I run into is ammunition. Being in Alaska, it's very, very difficult to get ammo up here because we have to go through hazmat certs and everything else to get that shipped up here. So being a small home-based business, that doesn't do me so good because I don't have storage area for pallets of ammo, which could obviously be a big change in that. Then, of course, let's talk about the AR. That's one of the fun, universal, you can build that however you want. However, what I like versus what a customer may like can be very different things. Magpul stock versus a BCM versus any other brand that's out there could be a drastic difference that you may run into. So you can't stock everything. I mean, it's just impossible to stock everything, and accommodating what the customers want is always going to be a little bit of a challenge. Now, I do have customers that just come to me with, hey, can you get this for a special order? Absolutely. There are certain things that are harder to get than others, and we have to get on wait lists for those. One of the things that I really quickly learned was distributors that are out there. There are some distributors that will deal with small home-based businesses like me, and then there's others that won't. You have to be a brick and mortar store. So there's some very cool firearms out there that I'd love to get for people. However, I'm unable to order them because those distributors only deal with brick and mortar. Puts a little bit of hampering on us, but there's always a way to work around that through other companies and people that do work in this kind of business. Reach out, network. That stuff's going to take you further than about anything else. I've been doing this for a year and a half now. I just got a web page built by a friend of mine's been working on this for me. Yeah, we're still tuning it, but it exists and it's there now. So if you want some of that information, let me know. I can try to get that info to you for my page and kind of what I've learned in those cases. Now, one thing that comes up a lot of money that you can be made on just transferring firearms as things get mailed around and doing that transfer for people. But when it comes into sales, people think that firearms, we might be able to get those for a very low cost through our distributors and stuff. I'll tell you what, if you get 10% markup on some firearms, you're doing really good. So you got to think, on a $200 firearm, even at my cost, $20, sometimes that's actually doing pretty good to get that kind of markup. It's a little bit hard for the small businesses to compete with the big box stores because they just are able to have that extra inventory, keep that stuff in stock, and be able to down those prices when they have promotional stuff come up that they're able to do. So that's another challenge that I know I have seen and faced a little bit on a small home-based business. Now, one thing that I've always done for my customers, they ask me about something, I'm going to tell them yes or no, I can compete with that price, and I'm always going to try to make sure I get them the best price that I can. One thing that you may see quite a bit is everybody seems to have the same firearm price at the same point. Well, that's because there is a minimum advertised price on firearms. That is to keep kind of a level playing field for the small home-based business, the small business, the big box store, keep everybody kind of on a level playing field and help to promote the field for all of us as a retailer. So remember, there's going to be some things that a small business just can't get, especially when you get home based. There's certain things that I couldn't make enough sales for certain companies to actually have accounts that allow me to purchase certain firearms, certain optics, certain things. So these are some of the lessons that I've learned from doing this. One thing I know for sure, I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's definitely something I want to continue with, and something that really has been beneficial in helping me with the extra time after retiring from the military, because you have more time on your hands even when you do go to work full time. I have a normal day-to-day job. This is my after hours, weekend stuff that I enjoy doing to learn more and push further on with businesses. I'd love to hear from folks if you have some ideas, things that you think I should look into, or certain things you'd like me to start reviewing, getting into. Please let me know. Any ideas to help me get started would be great, and I'm happy and waiting to hear from you. Thank you.